Hi, my name is David, and I'm 48 years old. For 20 years, Sarah was my wife. 2 decades. We met in college. 2 ambitious young souls charting our futures. I was a budding architect, driven by a passion for creating tangible structures. She was in corporate law, sharp, articulate, and fiercely intelligent. Our relationship was built on what I believed to be mutual respect, shared dreams, and an unwavering commitment to each other. We weathered early career struggles, celebrated promotions, mourned losses, and built a comfortable life together in a beautiful suburban home. We had no children, a joint decision we'd made years ago, which meant our focus was entirely on each other, or so I thought. We were a team, a unit, an unshakable partnership. Sarah was always meticulous, organized, and deeply involved in her career. Her firm was prestigious, demanding long hours and frequent travel. I admired her drive, her ambition. I understood that her work often took precedence, and I supported her wholeheartedly. I was the one who made sure the house ran smoothly when she was away, who picked up the dry cleaning, who cooked the meals. I saw myself as her steadfast anchor, the calm harbor she could always return to after the storms of her professional life. And in return, she was my confidant, my intellectual sparring partner, the woman who knew me better than anyone else. Our love wasn't a tempestuous romance. It was a deep, quiet affection built on companionship and a shared history. Or so I believed with every fiber of my being. The first crack in our foundation, subtle and almost imperceptible at first, appeared about a year before everything imploded. Sarah's business trips started becoming longer, more frequent, and oddly less detailed. Before, she'd send me itineraries, tell me about her meetings, even complain about the bland hotel food. Now, her updates were terse, almost generic. Just landed. Busy week ahead. Talk soon. She'd return exhausted, but also different. A strange detachment in her eyes, a fleeting smile that didn't quite reach them. I dismissed it as work stress. Her firm was known for being relentless. I offered massages, hot meals, quiet evenings. She'd accept, but the distance remained. Then came a new phone, a sleek, expensive model. For work, she said. It was always on silent, always face down, always in her purse. And she became oddly protective of it. If I so much as glanced at it when it buzzed, she'd snatch it away, a flash of irritation in her eyes. I'd tease her, secret government dealings, darling. She'd force a laugh, too quickly. A tiny seed of doubt, cold and sharp, began to germinate in my mind. It was irrational, I told myself. It had to be. The specific lie that shattered my world came 3 months before the end. Sarah announced she had a crucial business trip to Miami. It was a week-long conference, vital for a major client acquisition. Her tone was dismissive, almost annoyed, as if the trip itself was an inconvenience. Another week away, darling, she sighed, packing her most professional attire. Wish I didn't have to go, but this client is huge. I believed her. I kissed her goodbye at the door, told her to be safe, and promised to take care of everything at home. But something felt off. Too off. The way she avoided my eyes when she spoke of the client. The overly dramatic sigh. It was a performance, and my gut, a primal instinct I hadn't listened to enough, screamed that it was a bad one. I found myself checking her firm's website, looking for details about the Miami conference. There was nothing. No public announcement, no internal memo I could find. I had access to some internal portals through her work laptop at times, when she needed tech help. I rationalized it. Perhaps it was a private, invitation-only event. But the doubt lingered, a corrosive acid eating away at my peace of mind. The next few days were excruciating. I found myself picking at tiny details. She hadn't sent me the usual, just landed text. Her calls were even more infrequent, often just short bursts of conversation, sounding rushed. One evening, I called her office phone, something I rarely did. It rang for a long time before going to voicemail. You've reached Sarah Miller at Sterling & Associates. I'm currently out of the office on a business trip. Please leave a message. A generic out-of-office message. Perfectly normal. But why did it sound so rehearsed? It was that night, lying awake in our too-big bed, staring at the ceiling that I made the decision. The seed of doubt had become a thorny bush of suspicion. I hated myself for it, for questioning the woman I loved. But I couldn't unknow the feeling in my gut. I decided to hire a private investigator. It felt dirty, sordid, like something out of a bad movie. But I had to know. For my own sanity, I had to know the truth. I did my research meticulously, quietly. I didn't want anyone to know, especially not Sarah. I found a highly recommended PI firm online, specializing in matrimonial cases. The initial consultation was discreet in a nondescript office downtown. The PI, a man named Frank, was stoic, his face unreadable, his questions precise and to the point. He listened to my vague concerns, my carefully chosen words, without judgment. I paid him a hefty retainer, feeling a mixture of guilt and grim determination. Just find out where she really is, Frank, I told him. And what she's doing. The waiting was pure torture. Every phone call, every email notification made my heart pound. I tried to live my life normally, to go to work, to pretend everything was fine. But my mind was a constant whirl of possibilities, each one more agonizing than the last. I started noticing things I'd previously dismissed. The subtle changes in her makeup, the new, expensive lingerie in her drawer that I'd never seen her wear for me, a faint scent of a different cologne on her clothes when she returned from trips. My world was subtly shifting, tilting on its axis, and I was holding my breath, waiting for the inevitable crash. Then, 10 days after Sarah had left for her Miami trip, Frank called. His voice was flat. "Mr. Peterson, I have information regarding your wife." My heart hammered against my ribs. She is not in Miami. She is in Cancun, Mexico, and she is with another man. The words hit me like a physical blow. The air rushed out of my lungs. Cancun, Mexico, not Miami, not a business trip, another man. The world went silent, then exploded into a cacophony of shattered glass and broken promises. I felt a cold dread spread through my veins, chilling me to the bone. It wasn't just the fact of the affair. It was the audaciousness of the lie, the casual cruelty of it, the utter disregard for me, for our life. She had looked me in the eye, kissed me goodbye, and flown halfway across the world to betray me. Frank continued, calmly, professionally. "I have photographic evidence, hotel records, flight manifests. They're staying at the redacted luxury resort name. They arrived on the same flight. She told you was going to Miami. They've been seen together intimately for the past 5 days. I can send you the full report and the photos if you wish." "Send them." I choked out, my voice barely a whisper. "Send everything." The email arrived minutes later. I opened the attachment with trembling hands. The photos were undeniable. Sarah, my wife of 20 years, laughing, holding hands, kissing, embracing another man, a man I didn't recognize, on a sun-drenched beach by the pool at a romantic dinner. Her smile, the one that rarely reached her eyes for me anymore, was genuine, radiant, full of unrestrained joy. It was a smile of pure, unadulterated happiness, a happiness she had found with someone else, behind my back, using my trust. Each image was a dagger to my heart, twisting deeper with every pixel. The betrayal wasn't just sexual, it was a profound violation of everything I thought we were. The anger came then, not a raging inferno, but a cold, precise flame. It was the kind of anger that doesn't scream or break things, but rather plans, calculates, executes with chilling efficiency. My grief, my pain, my humiliation coalesced into a singular, unwavering resolve. She wanted to play dirty? I would play dirtier, much dirtier. I would not just end the marriage. I would dismantle her world, piece by agonizing piece, just as she had dismantled mine. I spent the next few weeks in a controlled, almost detached state. I continued to go to work, to manage the house, to answer concerned calls from friends asking about Sarah's trip. No one suspected the storm brewing beneath my calm exterior. I told Frank to continue collecting proof, not just of the affair, but of her general movements, her spending habits, anything that could be useful. I also started digging into her finances quietly. I knew her firm's reputation for rigorous expense reports. If she had tried to expense this business trip to Cancun, there would be a paper trail, a lie in black and white. My target was not just a divorce. It was a public, undeniable exposure of her deceit. I wanted her to feel the shame, the humiliation, the utter destruction of her carefully constructed facade. And I wanted her parents, respectable, church-going people who adored their perfect daughter, to witness it firsthand. It was cruel, I knew, but so was her betrayal. I contacted a top divorce attorney, a formidable woman known for her aggressive tactics. Her name was Evelyn. I laid out the facts, presented Frank's meticulously collected evidence, and articulated my plan. Evelyn listened, her eyes widening slightly at the audacity of it. "Mr. Peterson," she said, "this is highly unusual, but if you have the evidence, it can certainly be effective. Just be prepared for the fallout. This will be explosive." "I am prepared," I said, my voice steady. I have nothing left to lose. My plan was simple, brutal, and precise. Sarah was due back from her Miami trip on a Sunday evening flight. I had confirmed her flight details through Frank, who had cross-referenced them with the Cancun flight. She would be arriving at our local international airport, likely expecting me to pick her up, weary from her business travels, ready to slip back into her life of lies. But she wouldn't be slipping back into anything. The next critical step was contacting Sarah's parents. This was the hardest part, the one that made my stomach churn with a mixture of dread and morbid satisfaction. They were good people, traditional, and they adored Sarah, their only daughter. They knew nothing of her affairs or her deceitful nature. I called them, my voice carefully modulated to convey grave concern, but not reveal the full truth. "Mr. and Mrs. Hayes," I began, "I need to ask a favor. Sarah is due back from her business trip this Sunday evening. I'm having a bit of a personal emergency, a sudden family matter that requires me to be out of town. Would you be able to pick her up from the airport? I feel terrible asking, but it's important that she has someone there." They were immediately sympathetic. "Of course, David. Don't worry about a thing. We'll be there. Is everything all right? Is Sarah okay?" "She's fine, just tired from the trip." I lied smoothly. "It's just me. I'll explain everything when I get back." They agreed, unsuspecting, eager to help their son-in-law. This was crucial. They would be witnesses. They would see their perfect daughter's world shatter in front of their eyes. The day arrived. Sunday. The airport was bustling, a hive of activity. I arrived early, dressed impeccably, my heart thumping a cold, steady rhythm. Evelyn, my lawyer, was with me, holding a crisp folder containing the divorce papers and the damning evidence. Frank, the PI, was also there, blending into the crowd, ready to capture the scene from a discreet distance. We positioned ourselves near the arrival gate, where Sarah would emerge. A few minutes later, Sarah's parents arrived. They looked a little flustered, carrying a "Welcome home, Sarah" sign they clearly made. They spotted me, their faces registering surprise. "David, what are you doing here? I thought you had a family emergency?" Mr. Hayes asked, confused. "The emergency, it resolved," I said, my voice flat, my eyes fixed on the arrival gate. And I realized I couldn't miss this. They exchanged puzzled glances, but before they could question me further, the first passengers from Sarah's flight began to trickle out. And there she was, Sarah. She emerged from the gate, looking tired but still composed. She had changed into comfortable clothes. Her hair was a little messy, but she was still undeniably beautiful. For a fleeting second, my heart ached, a pang of the old love, the life we had shared. But then, I remembered the photos, the betrayal, the lies. The ache vanished, replaced by a resolute iciness. Her eyes scanned the crowd, looking for me. When she saw me, her face lit up with a weary smile. Then she saw her parents next to me, and her brow furrowed in confusion. She started walking towards us, her tired traveler facade firmly in place. "Darling, what surprise. I thought you were." She stopped dead, her eyes moving from me to Evelyn, then to the folder Evelyn held. Her smile faltered, her face draining of color. She knew. Instantly, she knew. Sarah Miller. Evelyn's voice cut through the airport chatter, clear and concise, a hammer blow. You are hereby served with these divorce papers. Evelyn extended the folder. Sarah stared at it, speechless. Her parents gasped, utterly bewildered. Divorce. Mr. Hayes stammered, his face pale. What is going on, David? Sarah didn't take the papers. Her eyes, wide with panic, darted between Evelyn, her parents, and me. David, what is this? What are you doing? Her voice was a terrified whisper. It's over, Sarah, I said, my voice calm, but resonating with an authority I hadn't known I possessed. The business trip to Miami? Funny, because Frank here, I gestured subtly to Frank, who subtly adjusted his camera lens, has photos of your week in Cancun with your boyfriend. Her face went from pale to ghostly white. Her mouth opened and closed, no words coming out. Her eyes, filled with dawning horror, landed on her parents. Cancun? Boyfriend, Mrs. Hayes whispered, her hand flying to her mouth, her eyes fixed on Sarah, a dawning horror in her own gaze. Sarah, what is he talking about? No, Dad, Mom, it's not true. He's lying. He's crazy. Sarah stammered, her voice rising in a desperate, unconvincing plea. She tried to grab my arm, her touch repulsive. I recoiled. Evelyn, sensing her moment, pushed the folder into Sarah's unresponsive hands. The evidence is all inside, Ms. Miller. Photographic evidence, hotel receipts, flight manifests. Your firm has also been notified of your misrepresentation regarding expenses claimed for this business trip. I believe they'll be conducting an internal audit. Sarah looked at the folder in her hands, as if it were a venomous snake. Her eyes were glazed with tears, but they were tears of pure, unadulterated self-pity, not remorse. She threw the folder on the ground. David, how could you? How could you do this to me? In front of my parents? She shrieked, her voice cracking. How could you, Sarah? I retorted, my voice sharp, unforgiving. How could you lie to me for months? How could you betray our 20 years? How could you look me in the eye, kiss me goodbye, and fly off to be with another man? How could you desecrate our marriage, our home, our trust? You did this, Sarah, not me. I'm just showing everyone the truth you worked so hard to hide. Her parents stood frozen, their faces a mask of shock and disbelief. Mr. Hayes, usually so composed, looked utterly devastated. Mrs. Hayes had tears streaming down her face, but her gaze was fixed on Sarah, a look of profound disappointment. Mom, Dad, he's lying. He's always been jealous. He's trying to ruin my life, Sarah cried, turning to them, begging for their belief. We saw the pictures, Sarah, I said, my voice cutting through her desperate pleas. Your lawyer will explain everything. But know this, every lie, every betrayal, every single penny you spent on your little Cancun fling, it's all accounted for. This divorce will leave you with nothing. I turned away from her, from the broken fragments of the woman I once loved, and walked away, Evelyn by my side. Frank had already disappeared into the crowd. I heard Sarah's parents calling her name, her hysterical sobs echoing through the terminal. It was a brutal, public spectacle, but it was exactly what I had wanted. The aftermath was exactly as Evelyn had predicted. Explosive. The divorce was long, drawn out, and acrimonious. Sarah tried to fight, to deny, to countersue, but the evidence was overwhelming. Her firm launched a full investigation, and she was eventually fired, her career in tatters. The photos, the hotel records, the flight manifests, her own firm's internal audit findings, it all painted a picture of calculated deceit. The financial settlement was heavily in my favor. I got to keep the house, most of my retirement funds, and even managed to recover a significant portion of what she had illicitly spent. Her parents, devastated by the truth, stood by me, not her. They were heartbroken, not just for the failure of the marriage, but for the moral failings of their own daughter. They eventually severed ties with Sarah, unable to reconcile the image of their perfect child with the deceitful woman exposed at the airport. That, I think, was the deepest cut for her. Losing her parents' respect was something she never anticipated. I never truly found closure in the traditional sense. The pain of the betrayal lingers, a phantom limb of a life that once was. But there is a grim satisfaction in having faced the truth, in having fought for justice, and in having emerged from the wreckage with my dignity intact. I rebuilt my life, slowly, cautiously. I relearned to trust, first in myself, then in a select few friends who stood by me throughout the ordeal. I sometimes see Sarah's name pop up in old news articles about her firm, usually as a footnote in a scandal, or I hear whispers from mutual acquaintances about her struggles. I feel no joy, no schadenfreude, only a cold, detached sense of "I told you so." My wife lied about a business trip. I hired a PI, quietly collected proof, then served her divorce papers at the airport, with her parents there. It was a moment of public humiliation, a shattering of a carefully constructed facade. And while it ripped my world apart, it was the only way to expose the truth and reclaim my life from lies.